Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, KHALID. But today is the 2nd of April 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting in the course of the show. We'll begin with the day 179 of the Israel-Palestine war, and with all signs pointing towards Israel trying to escalate the war, expand the war beyond Palestine. When, of course, we see the Islamic Republic's Iran's consulate building in Damascus being attacked, which has killed several people, including a senior IRGC commander, because, of course, of this escalation of the war, and all signs are pointing towards Israel's involvement in this. Also, a US-based aid group, World Central Kitchen, has confirmed that 7 of its staff members have been killed in a targeted attack by the Israeli military, and it has called it to stop this indiscriminate killing in Gaza. Those killed also include people from Australia, Poland, the United Kingdom, and a US-Canada citizen. This and more will be discussed in our first segment. Our second story concerns Narendra Modi's tactics to win the elections that are going to happen this month. We all know that there was a major opposition rally that was held by all the combined opposition parties, which also highlighted the different methodologies that the Narendra Modi government has been employing, whether it be in the forms of suspending the funding or the accounts of the opposition parties, or arresting the main opposition leaders, or different other tactics. On the other hand, it is trying to hide its own inaccuracies and embezzlements that it has been doing. This and more is going to be discussed in our second story. Then we are going to talk about the North Korea that has test-fired a missile, which is a suspected intermediate range ballistic missile, into the sea on Tuesday in a possible test of new rocket using solid fuel. And of course, this has drawn swift condemnation not only from South Korea but also from Japan and the US. Finally, we'll be talking about Google that has agreed to destroy billions of data records to settle a lawsuit that claims that it secretly tracked the internet use of people who thought they were using the internet privately. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our show. We have with us to discuss Israel-Palestine war and the expansion of this war. With us in the studios, Dr. SAIRA Nawaz Abbasi. She's an international affairs expert. Thank you very much, Dr. SAIRA, to have joined us. A part of Iran's consulate in the Syrian capital, Damascus, was attacked by Israel. It killed 7 people, and of course, it has drawn swift condemnation. And the Iran's ambassador to Syria saying that at least 5 people were killed in the attack, which was carried out by F-35 fighter jets. There is also a United Nations Security Council meeting that is being held on the request of Russia to hold an open briefing on this Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. Do you feel Israel is expanding the war in Palestine to other countries, and will that also be discussed or part of the agenda of tonight's United Nations Security Council meeting?
Well, if you want to see the expansion of war in the prism of the recent strike of Israel inside Syria, so I would like to mention that Israel strikes in Syria, they are not new. They have been striking Syria, and particularly.
But never have they struck a consulate the way they have done it this time.
Yes, this kind of expanded version of their hit and strike is not there. But in terms of the strikes, they had been striking all the factions and elements which they believed that are backed by the Iranians, whether they are the Hezbollah or Hamas factions inside the Syria. But this is something, previously it was more based on what you can say is that the non-state actors' involvement in their installations, but this strike is different in terms of that it is directly hit the consulate, which is the clear violation of international law, and which is a clear violation of international norms and rules, and which is clear violation of the UN Charter also. And also they violated the diplomatic convention, which gives the inviolability of the diplomatic premises. So yes, it is expanding, the war is expanding, and it could escalate and could bring the regional war, and there might be, because of this, there could be a reaction that the proxies of the states, they would, of course, the states would lose control over them, because the reaction would be, greater. So yes, we can say that there will be the expansion of the war, but otherwise, if you see the Israel-Palestine conflict, that is already expanded. that is not now constrained inside even a region or between the two states. It has now become a global phenomena, and everybody else is talking about it, whether it's the public opinion, world public opinion, or whether it's international institutions, European parliaments officials, or whether the head of the states and the officials. Now, talking about the second part of your question was about the Russian request about the
United Nations Security Council meeting.
So, we have to see that Syria has been an ally of the Russia. So, Russia has to give a message to the world and to the alliances, the client state of the United States also, that it is committed to protect the interest of its ally. So, one is of course to give the clear message about alliance protection, and second is of course now Russia is very smart, and they have seen that the world opinion is going against the US and its allies. So, there would be a political point scoring as well as protection of their own interest in the Syria and Mediterranean region.
All right. There have been statements that have come out from different countries as far as this Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate is concerned. I'll begin with the Pakistani statement that said this: the attack is an unacceptable violation of the sovereignty of Syria and undermines its stability, and also, as you said, it is a violation of international law and the United Nations Charter, and a major escalation of the already volatile region. China says the security of diplomatic institutions cannot be violated, and Syria's sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity needs to be respected. The current situation in the Middle East is turbulent, and China opposes any actions that lead to an escalation of tensions. How important are statements such as these? Will they have any effect?
These statements are very, very important, very impactful, and it not only signify the position of the Pakistan that clearly gives a message to the world that any irresponsible act towards the diplomats, be it Iranian or Pakistani or anyone, Pakistan has a firm position to be aligned with what UN Charter says, what UN Convention says, and what international conventions talk about the protection of the diplomats around the world. And of course, Pakistan is not alone in condemnation of these acts of Israel. Along with Pakistan, there are the regional states of Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and then international states also, like you rightfully China, Russia, along with China and Russia. I think United States itself did not outrightly said anything against or in favor of this strike. So yes, there is, I think they also believe that the international rules and norms are being violated.
All right. Now, any sense that a US abstention on a United Nations ceasefire resolution that could have signaled a slightly different approach towards Israel as far as the US is concerned has only lasted for a couple of days, because by Friday the Washington Post has reported that the latest consignment of billions of dollars worth of US bombs and planes has been shifted to Israel. Matthew Miller, in response to a question on the US weapons transfer to Israel, says we are committed to Israel's right to self-defense. Now, this $4 billion a year arms pipeline from the US to Israel, already under the current situation when Palestine is being bombarded left, right and center, what does it bode as far as policy of the US towards Palestine is concerned, towards humanitarian laws is concerned?
There are various dimensions of this question to understand it fully. One is that, of course, it brought a dramatic, shift in the US stance towards its ally, and it also shocked the Israelis also to some extent, that they were not expecting it, or either they were not happy with US stance, because they said that it would benefit Hamas. This is the Israel's position, that it gives hope to the Hamas that if any international pressure would be put on the US and Israel, so they have to go towards the ceasefire and to go towards the terms of the the Hamas terms. So one of the dimension is this, that yes, it is a dramatic shift. Second is that this UNSC resolution is vaguely worded. At one point it says that it is for the Ramadan till Ramadan, which makes, I think, if you include the Eid holidays also till 13th of April. But at the later point in the same resolution drafted, it says that it could be extended, which means it's contradictory. And I think it would based on the mediators who are involved, Qatar and Egypt, that how they will bring it on towards the other sides of the avenues where, you know, we can have a sustainable and long lasting ceasefire. And what was the other points of your question?
I was just saying, you know, I was giving Matthew Miller's point of view. He said we are committed to Israel's right to self-defense.
Yes.
So under the current circumstances, is the US policy towards Israel, you know, the same as far as the supply of arms is concerned, which gives us more impetus to Israel to continue with its barbarities?
Yes, actually, I would say that Joe Biden's administration has miscalculated its policy towards Israel and the Middle East, which has backfired also and which has led to a strategic failure. On the one side, they are giving the political, economic and diplomatic cover to the Israelis, and on the other hand, they are, you know, like you have pointed out, they are asking the Israel to, you know, stop atrocities and go towards the ceasefire. So this not only indicates the hypocrisy of the United States policy, and that is because of international pressure, international public opinion, and I think they have also, you know, they are now certain about their miscalculation, because giving this much aid to the Israel, the Joe Biden administration thought that it would be impactful in the sense that they would have more control over the decision making of the Israel, as well as to bring the moderate policy towards Palestine. But it is other way around.
Exactly.
Yes. So that is, I think.
I think it's going to have a political repercussion as far as the current government is concerned.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Also, the food aid organization World Central Kitchen has said that an Israeli strike has killed 7 of its workers in the Gaza Strip, which also includes not only people from Palestine but also from Australia, Poland, United Kingdom, a dual citizen of the US, Canada. And of course it has drawn swift reactions from different countries, including Australian Prime Minister, who has demanded full accountability. Deputy Leader of the Australian Greens says the Australian government has not done enough to criticize Israel's war on Gaza, and other countries such as Cyprus, European Commission, Iran, Jordan, Martin Griffiths, Norwegian Refugee Council, Open Up Spanish Organization, Scotland, WHO, World Food Programme have all condemned these attacks. Is Israel sparing nobody when it comes to its barbarism, barbarities, its violence, its ethnic cleansing, so-called? It is now including people from any and every country, and even those who are giving aid to the hapless Palestinians.
They are very much committed to achieve their political objective, and they know that they have the support of the US and US-led international organizations, so they know that nobody can do anything against it. So that is why they don't care what other people think, as long as United States and international organizations are with them. They don't think. And then we would also like to see it in the context of the anarchy of the international system, where all states are independent to take up any actions. So they are more focused on achieving their political objectives, and they are not, you are rightfully pointed out that they don't care what other thinks and what is their opinion.
All right, thank you very much. We are discussing different important issues in Newsroom. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Our second segment today, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Narendra Modi's tactics ahead of the elections that are going to happen later in the month in India. Now, we all have seen how Narendra Modi is trying to put a stop to the activities of the opposition parties by A, putting them in jail, B, suspending their accounts, and C, taking all kinds of measures so that their voting process or their political rallies could somehow be stopped one way or the other. There was a huge rally that was recently taken out by the combined opposition, that is known as India, in which they highlighted some of the demands that included, of course, that all the opposition leaders and their vindictive measures taken by the current government needs to stop against the leaders, and of course the suspension of all the accounts of the opposition also needs to stop. But will the government in India comply with that, because Narendra Modi is hell-bent to gain power again in these upcoming elections? We've been joined by Dr. AMNA MAHMOOD. She's a foreign affairs expert to discuss more on this. Dr. Saiba, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saiba, political parties say they are deprived of having a level playing field because the way Narendra Modi is taking measures ahead of the elections, whether it be the income tax department that imposes 210 crore fine on the Congress, freezes their accounts, sending 5 income tax notices to the opposition party. For example, 3,567 crore rupees to the Congress to pay immediately. The Modi government is more or less, as far as the government is saying, the opposition parties are saying, trying to pave the way to come back in this election via quote-unquote match fixing. Do you feel voters are cognizant of this? Do you feel they will vote intelligently?
Thank you, Umar, for having me. The Indian voter is not that much goof as Mr. Modi is thinking of. But I think right now the ideology and the populist outlook of Indian voter is somewhat compromised. Its wisdom as they used to do it, but I think that that is not completely compromised. One voter that is ideologue, that is following BJP blindly, and that is the believer of Hindutva, that is blind. And they would follow what Modi says and what they wanted to. But rest of the voters, and they are not less than, I think, 40% of Indian population, they are watching carefully and they will come out with their own mind in next election, I think. Because, if we see in history, in 1977, Indian voter totally turned the Congress table altogether because they were believer in freedom of voting behavior. And since Congress imposed strict restrictions and they wanted to control India through emergency, so that was a reaction of voter that they wiped out Congress for the very first time. So I think that Mr. Modi is underestimating the wisdom of Indian voter, and they would certainly respond other way around as he's expecting in the election.
But Dr. Amna, the fact is that a lot of accounts of political parties are suspended. Many are in jail. Then the income tax raids on their offices, and the demand to give crores of rupees back to the government. Do such tactics work in Indian politics, in your point of view?
I think that these are all tactics to block the funding of candidates, because in India, unlike our elections, mostly the candidates are sponsored by the political parties because they are from middle class and lower middle class. Very few elites are fighting in elections. They are contesting in elections. So I think that this is a measure that is planned to block the party funds so that they cannot finance their candidates, and their capability to run their campaign would be compromised. But I don't think that this measure would be totally fruitful because, there are a number of other ways to run the campaign. And when you are running in your own constituency, then you have support of your own people around you. So in India, like Pakistan, they do have Baradarism and sectarian identities and language identities, and they would support them in their campaign. Secondly, I believe that when there are efforts to block that, there is counter reaction among the people, among the voters, and that would be in favor of opposition again, not in favor of establishment and Mr. Modi's government.
All right, Dr. Amna, also, do you feel such tactics or such measures being taken by the Narendra Modi government are more or less taken also to hide their inaccuracies? For example, the embezzlement of around 13,000 crore rupees that has been proven on the Modi government in this electoral bond scandal. We also know that a key witness against Arvind Kejriwal, who is now in jail, donated a tidy sum to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's campaign fund through these very election bonds. Could this be a factor that could work against the BJP in the upcoming elections?
That Mr. Modi is doing all this crackdown on opposition just to divert attention from all these embezzlement his party is doing in the name of these electoral bonds. And this effort, again, this is the time of social media where everything is exposed. Even matters which are not to be exposed, they are exposed in social media, and nobody can block that. So embezzlement on the part of Mr. Modi's political party and his election campaign cell, that is exposed, and the people of India knows. And then crackdown on opposition is also exposed, and Mr. Modi cannot block that. Political parties are having their own mechanism, registration, and then they have their own fund, auditing, annual auditing. That is all. That should be there. Otherwise, they would not be allowed to contest the election. So, if they do have they have maintained their file, they would come out all these crackdown in the name of, financial terrorism and taxation terrorism. They will come out of that. And ultimately, the beneficiary would be the opposition, not the government.
All right, Dr. Amna, also Rahul Gandhi claims that the BJP is raising a slogan of getting 400 seats. But he also adds that without the electronic voting machines, without match fixing, without pressurizing the media and buying media, it will not be able to even reach the target of 180 seats. He also has referenced remarks from a BJP MP who did not name. He said the BJP will change the constitution when it gets more than 400 seats, as it being claimed by Narendra Modi. Then, of course, Rahul Gandhi adds, and this is a very important quote, if the constitution is finished, the country will be finished. Also, that the country will be torn apart in two different states. Isn't it a very dangerous precedent if it actually happens?
Yeah, it is. It is certainly alarming for the whole India and for the very existence of India, because, Indian ideology is based on secular constitution India made immediately after their independence. And if they would lose their very basis, that is the secularism, and they are going to change their constitution, making it a Hindu constitution or a Hindu state, certainly that would be very, very, alarming for everyone thinking in terms of integrity and unity of India. And BJP is planning to have absolute majority, but I think if they would be very sure about their victory, then they would not have taken such measures, such petty measures as they are taken against the opposition. It means that they are trying to get that majority, but that is very challenging. And with all these measures, it would not be very easy to block the opposition, because people, not only minorities, they are more than 20% of Indian population, but secular and ideologues are also there, scholars and those who believe in unity of India on the basis of secularism. They are also activated now, and you see that opposition, as it is combined in the name of India, they are playing their role. I think that it would be very challenging for Mr. Modi to achieve that 400 number to have a constitutional amendment.
Let's see how these things roll about. But also, there was a huge rally that was taken out by the combined Indian opposition called India with under the slogan "Save Democracy," in which Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge likens the BJP and RSS to poison, saying that you will die even if you taste a little bit of it. Priyanka Gandhi has given out 5 demands at the end of this rally. She says from the combined opposition's part, the Election Commission should ensure a level playing field for them. They should stop coercive action against them by the agencies such as the ED, such as the CBI and the IT. They are demanding the immediate release of Mr. Soren and Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. They are also asking the government to stop financially strangulating them, and they have also asked the Supreme Court to set up a special investigative team to probe the allegations of quid pro quo, extortion and money laundering by the BJP using the electoral bonds. Will the organizations comply?
Yeah, I think that the Indian Election Commission maintained its integrity, and they played a very vital role in conducting almost fair and free elections. There were no allegations ever of mass rigging. There may be rigging. There may be some, malpractices, misconduct in a few, constituencies. But generally, elections used to be fair, and that was actually the credibility that was inevitable for the credibility of Indian democracy. And these devices of voting, electronic voting devices, are part of that. And once I met one of the member of Indian Election Commission, and that was a Muslim member, and he was asserting it's all efforts. But I think that if that Election Commission fail to address the demands of the opposition, certainly the basic credibility and viability of Indian election would be compromised, and that would be a threat to the existence of democracy in India.
Dr. Amna, if and when Narendra Modi comes into power, do you feel the regional security will be at stake with the way the Narendra Modi government has been going on, whether it be using the Pakistan card in the past through different tactics, or the attacks, Pulwama one, and atrocities in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, then of its latest tryst with Sri Lanka as well. What could be the aftermath on the region if and when Narendra Modi comes to power? Do you believe he will continue on the same stride that he has been going on in the last 2 of his political stints?
Yeah, exactly. I have been studying the trends of Indian elections over the years. It has been any political party, because Pakistan card is very instrumental in Indian election, and every political party played that card. But Mr. Modi, he went only apart from that card, and he played, very threatening measure against Pakistan, like Pulwama incidents and many others. But this time, India is expanding, and they are flexing their muscles to other nations as well. As you see that there is a movement in Bangladesh without living without India. They are raising the slogan that they don't want to live under influence of India, and that is the same is the case in Nepal as well. So I think that Mr. Modi is first, he is threat for India itself, its integrity and unity of India. And then when he would be able to convert, if he would be able to win 400 seats and amend the constitution, he will be a threat for India itself. And if India would be destabilized from within, then certainly he will find some other way to divert the attention of the people and will attack some of the neighbor, including Pakistan. So Pakistan is having major threat of in rise of Modi in the region, because he has previously claimed that he abrogated 370 and made Indian occupied Kashmir as part of India, and now he is looking towards the Azad Kashmir, the Pakistani Kashmir. So we should be careful about that, and we should be prepared to meet the challenges emerging out of the Mr. Modi's rise, and that would be certainly a threat for the regional security as well.
Dr. Amna, here in Pakistan, we can talk openly about Narendra Modi and his tactics, but across the border in India, not many media networks are allowed to function this way, are allowed to say the truth. In fact, many are curtailed or are bought over by the Narendra Modi and government or his cronies, or are put under pressure one way or the other. Also, think tanks that try to take out reports that highlight true facts and figures are also being curtailed. An example is the Center for Equity Studies, where the head of this organization and also former bureaucrat Harsh Mandar has been raided by the Central Bureau of Investigation and has said that there are claims of irregularities just because he has been pointing out the truth and has been critical of the Narendra Modi government since 2014. Do such tactics continue to work in Indian politics or in the Indian government, and will the BJP government take advantage of it?
I think that these measures are very, visible in Indian government's policy. It has been the practice that there was announced and unannounced censorship in India on media. But this time, you see, India is only focused on external matters, on Pakistan, on what is happening in Middle East with a particular point of view, and they are barred from talking on the domestic situation. And it is serious type of, grave type of censorship imposed on Indian media. And previously, you see, during the last term of this term, which just passed of Mr. Modi, that intellectuals like Arundhati Roy and many others were persecuted in a way that was unprecedented in a democracy. And as you just mentioned, a think tank experience. So think tanks are blocked and they are compelled to produce a certain kind of narrative in favor of Hindutva and in favor of Hindu India. So I think that if Mr. Modi would be once more in politics and in controller of the government, then the situation would get more, detrimental and alarming for India and for the region as well.
All right, finally, Dr. Amna, do you feel that other organizations such as the judiciary are also in connivance with the current BJP-led government? We have seen in March 2023 where a group of opposition parties petitioned the Supreme Court stating a clear pattern of using investigative agencies to target, deliberate and crush the entire political opposition, and the Supreme Court refused to rule on the petition. Does this and so many other examples, like you also pointed out, Article 370 and the ruling on by the Supreme Court on this very article, do you feel that there is a certain tilt towards the BJP government as far as the judiciary in India is concerned?
Yeah, Omar, we have been watching this, that Indian judiciary's role is totally compromised. Before that, Indian judiciary kept its integrity and they were custodian of the civil rights of the people, especially the minority rights. But in case of current judiciary for the last two terms of Mr. Modi and before that the Gujarat riots, you see that they exempted everyone who were accused actually, and there were a lot of witnesses, and they gave a verdict in favor of BJP, and they declared that it was not a genocide and it was nothing wrong against BJP. And then we saw that Article 370, revocation of it, and then conviction of Kashmiri Hurriyat leaders, and the way the Indian judiciary was treating that, and as you just mentioned, the opposition's petition, all this shows that judiciary is compromised. We can recall it the time of, Indian National Congress in 1937 when they controlled the judiciary in the same way now Modi government is doing. And if Indian Supreme Court, apex courts would be compromised in this manner as they are reflecting right now, it means that India is going to be converted into a fascist state rather than a democracy in the near future.
Thank you so very much, Dr. AMNA Mahmood, to have joined us. Dr. AMNA Mahmood, foreign affairs expert, talking to us about the tactics being used by the BJP government under Narendra Modi in order to suppress the opposition by any way possible so as to gain more voter counts in the favor of the BJP. Let's see if that works. The elections are just a couple of weeks away. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first concerns North Korea, that has fired a suspected intermediate range ballistic missile into the sea. A lot of people are saying this is the test of a new rocket which uses solid fuel. A lot of condemnation has come from South Korea, from Japan, from the United States of America as far as this new test is concerned. This missile flew about 600 kilometers before falling into the sea. This was confirmed by South Korea. Japan also was following it. Japan's leader also, of course, criticized it. The Prime Minister condemned the launch as damaging for regional and international peace and stability. The US Indo-Pacific Command has said that although it did not pose any immediate danger to its troops of allies, but it did condemn it as unlawful and a destabilizing act. South Korean president has said that the North would try to sow confusion in his country ahead of a parliamentary election this month. Whether it be a political tactic or a strategic one, that, well, time will tell. Finally, Google is going to destroy browsing data of thousands, hundreds and thousands of users to settle a consumer privacy lawsuit. The terms of the settlement were filed on Monday in the Oakland, California federal court. Lawyers for the plaintiffs valued the accord at more than $5 billion and as high as $7.8 billion. Users might be able to sue the company individually for damages, but for the moment, Google is paying nothing. The class action began in the year 2020, covering millions of Google's users who had used private browsing since the 1st of June 2016. Users alleged that Google's analytics, cookies and apps let the Alphabet open new tab unit, improperly track people to set Google Chrome browser to incognito mode and other browsers to private browsing mode. So a lot of important data of what they were doing in their private mode was thus saved, and this data is now going to be deleted as per the contract that has been reached between Google and those users. Let's hope that such further suits will not come forward, as important companies like Apple or Google will not store this data. Well, with this we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories, segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.